wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I fall?
Hello everybody, hope you're well. This video is about this. This is a full face snorkeling mask with what's known as dry snorkels. We're going to review this. And this 1 litre cylinder with the demand valve regulator on as well. And there's two parts of this video. We're testing it in the pool. I'd normally do this out in the sea. I've had some good snorkeling trips this year, but the weather's been absolutely atrocious for about 2 months and we've lost the season. So a neighbour's kindly let us use the pool, which is fantastic to do this. But you will see some more videos of this in the future. And what I plan to do, not necessarily with this because this is purely a snorkeling mask, but using this with a standard mask and a standard snorkel, is take my kayak out to sea, jump over, clip a diving reel to it like a surface microwave reel, go down with a snorkel, have a look around, use the regulator off this because it's only 1 litre, it won't give you a lot of time underwater, crabs, lobsters, or just have a look around, go back on, get on the kayak and paddle back in again. So the first thing we're going to test is this, and this is the K2 mask from SMACO, and it's a full face mask and it's got separate inlets, so obviously twin snorkels that are movable. So as you're swimming along, depending on if you're looking forward or if you're looking down, you can move these snorkels to give you the maximum height out of the water. And they do have like a bead in there which is full of air. So as you go in the water, these beads will go up and cut the airflow off the top and obviously stop any water going in. So they're known as dry flow snorkels. So the idea of those is you can't really get water down into your mouth. And then it has a separate outlet inside. There's a separate attachment inside there which goes around your mouth and your nose, and it has another valve in there, and that's where you breathe out of. So you're not rebreathing the same air, you're going to poison yourself because the air goes in here and out of here. The mask has a strap on the back which covers your full back of your head as well. That works really well. The bubbles in here, these beads that are in here, float up straight away. I didn't get any water down here whatsoever. The seal around the face is good. You don't need to have this strong. And the actual inner seal around your mouth to stop you rebreathing your own air works well. The outlet is here, so as you breathe out, the bubbles actually go up here. So if you had an action cam on here, you'd get a good effect of the bubbles, but you wouldn't see a great deal. Apart from that, it works really well. This is Maggie using it, and she's never snorkeled before. But she finds it super easy to use, particularly because there's no chance of you getting any water in your mouth. So as well as this being a full face mask and having great vision on the sides and all the way around, it's super easy to use. You wouldn't use this for scuba diving, because if you're not capable of cleaning your ears apart from holding your nose, you can't actually do that with this. And this is a plastic lens on this, so it's used for shallow water and snorkeling. It's not designed to go deep whatsoever, but it's a fantastic way of teaching somebody how to snorkel and a safe way of teaching people how to snorkel. If you consider this as a traditional snorkel or a wet snorkel, there's just a pipe, there's nothing in the top of there. And as water gets into this, you have to blow the water out. And as you're breathing with these, the technique to stay without stopping getting water in your mouth is to breathe in slowly and blow out hard all the time. So if a little bit of water gets in the bottom, as you blow out hard, it'll blow the water out. But if you breathe in gently, the air will actually pass the water on the bottom of there. So the technique of that is really helpful if you try to use a traditional snorkel, and you use a traditional snorkel with a traditional mask. And this is actually a scuba diving mask. And if you look on the scuba diving mask, they've all got tempered glass on there because you can go to significant depth with these. I really like that. The other thing with it as well, as you go down, it's not designed to go deep, but as you go down, you can just blow into your mask and equalise the pressure in your mask as well, just stopping your mask squeeze. They're not designed for depth. You almost get an extra bit of air from the cavity around your mouth and nose as well. Suitably impressed. That's going to get a lot of use. The diving cylinder I will use, and I'm looking forward to using that in the way I've said. But I probably need a proper compressor to fill that, one of the miniature compressors. So filling it through the little pump is quite hard work. But I absolutely love that. And I'm interested to try some more of these full face masks. There's a number of different ones on the market. As I say, this one is called the K2, and it's very well made, very well put together. There's been a lot of thought and design going into that. I particularly like the way you can move the actual snorkels. So these snorkels here, you can have them vertically if you're swimming forward, like so, or you can push them backwards if you want to look down in the water. And that's a very good idea, instead of just having one snorkel out the top, like you can't always do. So let's have a look at this, and this is completely different, and this, if you get this wrong, it will literally kill you. So what we've got in here is about 2000 psi of compressed air, that's all it is. And later on in the video you'll see how I put it together and how I put it up with a hand pump, which took a lot of doing. But there's not, people think these are oxygen cylinders, they're just compressed air, clean compressed air. And it comes in two stages. So this first stage is connected to the cylinder, it's an aluminium cylinder, the capacity of this is 1 litre, and that's the second stage. So that's known as a demand valve and that's known as a regulator. And as you go underwater, the water pressure compresses you and everything in your body. So you use this device to be able to breathe the air at the pressure you're at. So if you was to take a lung of air, hold your breath and come to the top, your lungs would burst. There's no nerve endings in your lungs would burst, the seal automatically, you would have air in your chest and you're in all sorts of problems. So I highly recommend somebody does a scuba course with Paddy or Bricks Tobacco Club or one of the other training organisations before using this type of gear. The reason I like to use this, and I'm thinking of using this with a kayak and everything, it's so light and easy. We've had dive boats, big cylinders, rebreathing units and all sorts. But this is just for snorkeling around shallow waters and easy to use. But 1 litre of air, me being experienced at diving, would probably only last me about 10 minutes. So you're not going to get a lot of use out of this. So the idea of using this with a snorkel, a traditional snorkel, and a particular, a proper diving mask, will enable me to snorkel around using this. When I see something, I can go down with the snorkel, and if I need some air when I'm at the bottom, I can breathe with this, and that will give me more time at the bottom. But as I come up, I will let the air out and breathe normally as I surface, so I don't damage my lungs. So these can be really dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But a super little kit like this would be fantastic to have on a yacht. You've probably seen my videos before, I do quite a bit of sailing. If you get something trapped around the prop, trying to do it with a mask and snorkel and hold yourself under is really difficult. This would probably give you enough air to get down, put some rope or some netting off your prop. Or just for shallow dives, as I'm planning to use it, and sightseeing dives. Fantastic piece of kit. So with this little harness on here, there's a little content stage on the front there. And as you're actually swimming along, you can keep an eye on how much air you've got on there. There's a dial on there to switch it off and to switch it on. And literally, this mouthpiece, it's got a variability on there for airflow, but it's just into your mouth like a snorkel piece, and you breathe in and out as normal. If you put this in your mouth underwater, it's full of water and you haven't got enough breath to blow it out, you can press the third button on the outside and you'll blow the water out of the exhaust at the bottom. So it's just like a normal diving regulator. But the caution is there that if you take a lungful of air at depth with this, hold your breath and come back to the surface, you'll cause yourself some serious problems. So I highly recommend that, get some professional training. But hopefully you can see now how useful this is going to be for me. I'm going to have such a laugh at this. When the weather's better, it's probably going to be next summer or spring. Paddle out in a kayak, clip a reel to it, snorkel around, find what I want to find, go underwater, stick the SCUBA in your mouth, breathe from this cylinder, have a look around, come back up, get on the kayak and paddle back in again. I just have to make sure I let the Coast Guard know, the lifeboat crew, that I'm doing that, so they're selling the helicopters out. But super light, easy to use, And if you've got any experience using scuba gear, this is so straightforward to you. Filling it, you'll see in the next bit of the video, we put it all together and fill it from the hand pump, and we'll talk about the other ways you can fill it as well. So the quality of this is good. I've seen regulators from companies like Boshat or quite a few, even SCUBA Pro, that are this type of quality. There's a silicon diaphragm in this, it's not rubber. It's got stainless springs inside, it's got stainless fitting here, stainless fitting here on a swivel, and I've had it to bits and inside, they're all silicon O-rings. So it's quite well made. It's a proper low pressure hose that you could probably buy from every dive shop. In the first stage, it's not detachable, it's actually fastened to the cylinder, screwed into the cylinder. But the quality of it for the price is fine. And I like the idea of having this bottle on here. If you don't have to wear a separate contents gauge, you can actually see the contents gauge on the bottle as you're swimming around. Won't give you a lot of time in the water, but it'll be good fun. It's better than snorkeling. And it's better from the days that I used to go wearing a full drown suit, 2 15-litre cylinders on the back, out to the North Sea in freezing cold weather, spending a fortune to hit the bottom before you actually see it. This is just an easy way to get underwater and enjoy the views underwater, which is like another world. So how did it go together? Well, the K2 mask was very easy to put together. These top sections are separate, these middle sections are separate, and then you have these clamps on here, and they've got silicone O-rings on, and they're just literally all pushed together. So it's good for packing. It's all got quality silicone fittings on there, and that's where the valve is, so as you go underwater, that pushes that open, closes the air inlet out, so that stops any water going in to your mask. But they're just literally pushed together. And really simple, quality made. So these do rotate, they have these clamps on to disconnect them and to keep them into place so you don't pull them out when you're swimming around. But as you go down, you can move these upwards. So if you want to swim with your face down, you can just lift up and move them upwards. Or if you want to swim forward, you'll have it that way. It's got a little mount on there for a GoPro that slides on. That's the outlet valve. So the water comes down here into that actual face mask from both the tubes, and then the outlet of the air comes through here, which is clever because you're not rebreathing the same air. There's no chance of you getting poisoning yourself with not breathing the clean air. So it's a nice clever setup. It reminds, if there's any old scuba divers out there, any old commercial divers, this mask reminds me of an XO26. If I can find a picture, I'll put one in now. Or an Aga mask. It's that sort of design. It's a plastic mask, so this isn't really designed for deep scuba. It's a snorkeling mask for the surface really, but you can disconnect this and put a small cylinder on here, and you're only going to go down to a few feet with this. But it's really designed for surface snorkeling and just popping under the water to have a look around and then popping back up again. It's got a webbing strap on the back. It's a silicone double seal inside, and the vents are all silicone in there. So you have inlet vents for each snorkel and then an outlet vent here as you expel your air. Really well made, and I'm surprised they can make it for that price. Looks good as well, doesn't it? Imagine popping out the water in a black wetsuit with that. They'll think they've been invaded or something. The pump comes in its own separate box and is in a few pieces. There's a handle that screws on the top. This is your high pressure hose, and in this piece here there's a filter. If I can get it out. So inside there's a particle filter, and then there's a filter to suck any moisture out as well. So those two bits fit together, slide into there. Oops. Get it together properly, slide into there, and then this screws on to this. And you've got to remember, that this isn't a technical filter. It's going to take some of the moisture out and some of the nasties. But if you're pumping this and putting air into your diving cylinder and you're next to your car exhaust, you're going to put very nasty air in there and you're not going to be well. So you need to have this in a place where it's in the cleanest air possible. So you need to judge where you're going to use it. So you don't want any dust or anything to block this up. You don't want any gases or any nasties going through this basic filter into your actual diving cylinder. And the assemble, I haven't put it together yet, but I'll show you in a minute when it's together. The assemble's quite good. The O-rings are actually already in, but you get a big pack of spares and an Allen key and spare O-rings. This fits into the bottom, just screws into that hole there. There's a pressure gauge, and again the O-rings in there. You just need to check the O-rings okay. That goes into there. Make sure everything's tight, all the bits and pieces, a couple of screws for the bottom as well. And it comes with a spanner, lots of spare O-rings, as I say. There's a plug in there as well. So when you've got this assembled, you don't want anything getting into this filter. So there's a spare plug that you put into that when you're not using it. And there's the spare filter that it comes with, and obviously you can buy additional ones of those, and you need to change that quite regular. Pumping a cylinder up of this size, this is a litre cylinder, is going to take some effort and is going to take some time. I will probably eventually buy a 12 volt mini compressor for this, and I can just run that off my power supply in my camper van. But this makes it all independent, and I can just put this in back in my camper van any time I want to go snorkeling or have a quick dive around, do a bit of spearfishing or something. I can pump it up with this, but it's going to take some effort and some time to do it. So you can't be in a rush to do it. Then we have the cylinder. It's an aluminium cylinder. This is a 1 litre cylinder. It's got the dates on it, when it needs testing, its capacity and how much pressure it uses. I'm not going to go into great detail about assembling this because the company actually have their own videos which are quite good, and they go into all the detail about setting it up and how to put it together. But the bases are, you get your cylinder, and they do different sizes of these. You can get a smaller one, or you can get a bigger one, or you can get 2 of these you can link together. You get a first stage. So this first stage screws, take a plug out, make sure there's nothing inside. This screws in here. You have a little pressure gauge on there. There's your filler. And these are the holes to let the water pressure coming in to convert this high pressure to a manageable pressure back to the actual mouthpiece and the second stage. So this is known as a first stage. You switch it on and off, plug your pump in there, pump away. It just fits in there, nice and straightforward. Then you have a low pressure hose. This is low pressure because, as I say, this first stage converts the high pressure from the cylinder to the pressure, the atmospheric pressure that you're at. So if you're at surface, it will be atmospheric pressure at 1 bar. If you're at 10 meters, and you probably won't go to 10 meters with this, it will be twice that. And this device in here, this clever piece of device in here, lets you breathe the air at the pressure that it's at, and it converts that to a low pressure, and this low pressure goes through this hose to the second stage. And this is like your demand valve, and this goes into your mouth. It's got a purge button on there, and as you breathe in, it moves the diaphragm inside and lets air into your mouth. So that screws onto onto that end, and fits into that first stage, which fits into there. And that's the basic setup. It's as simple as that. There is a variable pressure gauge on there as well for the amount of air you want in, if it's easier or harder to breathe. But that's just a very standard second stage of a demand valve regulator. And inside there, basically, there's a diaphragm, there's a lever and a valve. And as you breathe in, you put pressure on the diaphragm, which opens the valve and lets the low pressure in to your mouth so you can breathe it. And then as you blow out again, the diaphragm goes out and it lets the air come out the exhaust at the bottom. It did come with this as well. This here is an adapter that fits onto that snorkeling mask, or some of their other snorkeling masks. So you can remove one of these, this fits into here, and then one of the smaller cylinders can actually fit onto the side of this. and you can switch the cylinder on and off. So you can breathe from one snorkel. If you want to go down a bit, you won't be going deep with this. If you want to go down a bit, I don't know, 3 or 4 meters, you could turn the air on in the cylinder and breathe from the small cylinder if you want to stay down there, if you're looking for crabs or spearfishing or something. But you've got to remember that the small cylinder and this cylinder allows you to breathe the air at the pressure that you're at. And if you was to hold your breath with this, I'll keep mentioning this through the video undoubtedly, but if you was to hold your breath at depth, say 10 meters, you'll have twice as much capacity in your lungs when you get to the top than you will when you're at 10 meters. And you have no nerve endings in your lungs, and you will just burst your lungs and it may well kill you. And it's a really dangerous thing to do, so you really need to be going to a scuba school, a dive school, and just having one of the basic lessons to understand how all this works. I highly recommend that. When I started scuba diving, I lived on a council estate, we didn't have any money. We made our old diving cylinder out of a fire extinguisher. We got an old twin hose regulator that one of the pipes had rotten, and we put a car hose on it and a Jubilee clip. And we literally threw ourselves into a pond. And we learnt through that and watching Jack Cousteau on black and white TV. Thankfully I survived, and I went on to work for a commercial diving company, run a dive shop, teach scuba diving to lots of different people, and I've had my own dive boat, done hundreds and hundreds of dives around the world. But it is super safe if you know what you're doing and you know the basic rules. And we'll pick some of that up through this video if we haven't already covered it. But I do recommend that you pop to a scuba club or a school. There's quite a few British tobacco clubs around, or paddy dive schools. And you could go on holiday and have a try dive, or do one of your paddy qualifications, or join a club and they do it all in the swimming pool. And you can learn the basics about scuba and some snorkeling skills as well that'll help you in the future. I'm just doing a test on this, so I've put the plug in there, open the edge and put the plug in there, made sure the bleed valve at the back's closed, and I'm just going to pump some air into it, get it up to pressure, and all I'm doing is filling that pipe with high PSI. I'm obviously not filling the bottle at the moment. So that's up to, what's that say, nearly 3,000 PSI. So in there, it's nearly 3,000 PSI. Whew, it's hard work. So in there, in that pipe, up to the end of there, is 3,000 PSI. If that was to shoot out of there, it'd go like a bullet. But I'm testing to make sure there's no leaks. And I can't hear any leaks whatsoever, and the gauge is stable. Now, to release the pressure out of this safely, so when you unclip this from your bottle, you need to use this bleed. And all that does is slowly reduce the air out, and you see the valve go down. So it's an easy way how to just check that all this works. And you'd leave that cap in there, that plug in there, for when you're storing this, so nothing nasty would get into that end of the filter or the pipe. So on this first stage, there's a blow off there. So that there is a screw that goes in, and it has a hole through the middle, and on the inside of that there'll be a disc, and that disc, it will blow if this gets to a certain pressure. So if this was overfilled, you wouldn't do it with the hand pump. I think you'd die before you got it to blow that valve off. But if this was fitted to a proper dive compressor and it was overfilled, or it was filled to its capacity and got really hot and the air started to expand, before anything went wrong, it would blow that little tab in there and let the air out. You'd lose all the air out of your bottle, but it's a safety device. And you just unscrew that, put a new tab in and nip it back up again. So it's well made, it's a nice safe bit of kit. The contents gauge for this is on here. It would have been good to have this contents gauge on a high pressure hose in your hand, and you might be able to buy one then from them, but it's just got a gauge on there to show how much air is in it. And then we have this threaded area on here, which the one end of the low pressure hose goes in there, in the same way as the valve went into the bottle. and that goes in there and you just nip that up. So yeah, that looks good. So that's all ready to fill. And to fill, we take that plug off there, we take the plug out of our hand pump, or the compressor if we're lucky to have one, and that pushes on there, clicks into place, and then you pump away for the rest of your life. Make sure that's closed, make sure the bleed screw's closed on there, then you've got an enclosed area, and you're relying on this gauge to show how much air is going in, and the gauge on the bottle to show how much air is in the actual cylinder. Stand on the bottom of the pump, and off you go. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a fair few attempts at this. I haven't done it in one go. I don't know how long it's taken, but it's took a lot of effort to fill this bottle. But it's now at, oh dear God, it's now at, just over 2,500 psi. Which I think will do. Well, it certainly do for today. So it can be done, but it's not easy. You can actually fill these from a diving cylinder. So if you've got a big diving cylinder, you can buy like an air clamp that links it to the charging unit, and you can charge it from a big cylinder. So you can do it with a pump, a bigger cylinder, or a proper dive compressor. And they do small dive compressors, which is undoubtedly what I need. Whew. Anyway, we've got air in the bottle. So to disconnect this here is on the actual first aid connector. It's a one-way valve, so it won't leak anything out of that. But we still have a hell of a lot of pressure in this hose. So as that's turned off, we only release the bleed valve on the pump. Slowly, no drama. Just let the air dissipate out of this pipe. As it's under pressure, you won't be able to undo the collet on there. And there it is, down to nothing, and then you just simply take that off and put the cover back on there to keep any nasties out. And there we have it. That is hard work. It is doable, but it's hard work. It also come, well, they sent me this little holder for the bottle. It's a nice little harness, padded, and it's got straps on. So as I'm using this, I won't use the double snorkel mask because it's not designed for this. I'll use a normal diving mask, and I'll have a snorkel on the left side, so I'll snorkel out to where I want to be. When I see something, I can take my snorkel out, put this in my mouth, go down, do what I want to do at the bottom, breathe out as I come out, breathe in and out as I come out as normal to equalise the pressure as I'm coming up slowly. And then when I get to the top, I can put my snorkel back in my mouth. So not to get confused, you generally have the mouthpiece for your diving cylinder on your right hand side and your snorkel on the left. And you would normally have your contents gauge, if this had a lead on and a contents gauge, that would be on your left as well. But I won't be using that with this because this isn't designed to use with this type of setup. You can put a small bottle on this, as I say, but they haven't sent me that, but this doesn't link to this. I think they do a mask, a full face mask that does attach the regulator into the mouthpiece, but not with this one. So I'll just be using a standard scuba mask or snorkeling mask and a standard snorkel.
That just leads me to say, check the description below, and all the information that was sent me, links to the website and all the spec and everything else will be in there. Remember, this is a dangerous piece of kit if you use it incorrectly, so I do recommend, again, can't say enough times, that you have some professional training before you use this type of kit. Not a problem at all with snorkeling gear, that's absolutely fine, but this, you do need to make sure you know what you're doing, because you don't want anybody injuring themselves. And that just leads me to say thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one, and I'm off for a swim.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So